Imagine a world where we spend trillions of dollars on the smartest technology in human history. We build data centers the size of cities. We train models that can pass the bar exam and diagnose rare diseases. But when we look at the economy, nothing happens. Wages are flat. Growth is boring. And the flying cars are nowhere to be found. This is the paradox haunting Silicon Valley right now. Everyone promised us an explosion of wealth, but the numbers on the spreadsheet refuse to move. But here is the part nobody expected. The smartest people in tech are fighting over why this is happening. And one side of this debate is telling a story that sounds comforting but might actually be a trap. They call it the output gap. It is an economic theory that says we are rich, we just don't know it yet. But there is a darker theory emerging. One that says the old economic rules are dead, and we are walking blindly into a post-labor crisis. To understand the trap, we have to look at the argument being made by thinkers like Patel. He looks at the stagnating productivity numbers and says, the technology is ready. The AI is powerful enough. The problem is us. He points to housing policies that block construction, energy rules that stall nuclear plants, the FDA is slowing down new drugs. In this version of the story, we are like a race car driver sitting in a Ferrari, but the speed limit is set to 20 miles an hour. They call this the institutional bottleneck. The idea is that if we just cut the red tape, bulldoze the zoning boards, and approve the permits, the dam will burst. We will see 10 times growth in GDP, wages, and living standards. It is a seductive narrative. It gives us clear villains, the sleepy bureaucrats, and clear heroes, the tech founders waiting to build. It tells us that the only thing standing between us and utopia is a stack of paperwork. But futurist David Shapiro argues that this is a dangerous distraction. He says using the output gap to analyze AI is like trying to fix a spaceship with a stone hammer. You are using the wrong tool for the job. You see, the output gap is a concept built for a world where human labor is the main ingredient. It assumes that if we build more factories, we need more humans to run them. But AI breaks that link entirely. Here is the technical deep dive. In standard economics, potential GDP is calculated based on how many people are working and how efficient they are. It assumes there is a limit to how much work can be done because there is a limit to how many humans exist. But what happens when the worker is software? What happens when you can copy and paste a million researchers, engineers, or assistants into the cloud overnight? The supply of labor becomes effectively infinite. This changes who gets hired next. If you can spin up digital workers at near zero cost, the constraint isn't human unemployment. The constraint is just electricity and silicon. Shapiro calls this the great decoupling. Historically, when productivity went up, wages went up. We made more stuff, so we got paid more money. But we are already seeing those lines split apart. Productivity is climbing, but for the average worker, the paycheck stays exactly the same. Goldman Sachs projects that generative AI could automate 25% of work tasks. McKinsey says up to 800 million jobs could be displaced. These aren't sci-fi numbers. These are investment bank warnings. So, if we fix the bottlenecks that Patel talks about, if we approve every housing permit and build every nuclear plant, we might get massive GDP growth. But that wealth won't flow to you. It will flow to the people who own the robots. This brings us to the real twist. The problem isn't production. It is power. In a post-labor world, the economy stops being a cycle of workers earning and spending. It becomes a one-way street. If a handful of companies own the foundation models, the data centers, and the robotic fleets, they capture all the value. You could have an economy that is 10 times larger than today's, with factories running at 100% capacity, and still have mass poverty because nobody has a job. Think about the gatekeepers we have today. Medical licensing boards, zoning commissions. They exist to protect the value of the insiders. Shapiro warns that new gatekeepers are forming around AI, access to compute, access to proprietary data. If we focus only on the output gap, on just making the number go up, we are ignoring the fences being built around the money printing machines. We are optimizing the engine while someone else steals the car. So, fixing bottlenecks is a dangerous distraction. It feels productive to talk about deregulation. It feels good to say, let's just build. But if you build a world where labor has zero value, you haven't solved the economic problem. You have just accelerated the crisis. We don't need a bigger pipe for GDP. We need a new plumbing system entirely. One that understands that when machines do the work, human wages can no longer be the primary way we distribute wealth. The output gap is a lie because it assumes the coastline continues just off the edge of the map. It assumes we will bounce back to normal. But Shapiro insists the shoreline ends here. Beyond this point lies an automated economy that needs new coordinates. We need to stop asking, how do we produce more? And start asking, who owns what we produce? This is the conversation we need to have before the algorithms take the wheel completely. It is not about red tape. It is about your place in the future. If you want to understand how to position yourself in an ownership economy rather than a wage economy, make sure you are subscribed. We are going to break down the strategies for the post-labor world in the next video. Tell me in the comments, Do you think AI will make us rich, or just make the rich richer?